clocks, and all three of them have different times. So I think I'm going to go off my cell phone, which says that it's 12:58. If anyone objects, speak now. Or is the time on this correct at 1 p.m.?
I have 12:58 right now.
I have the same. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Top of the hour, officially. My name's Anthea Martin. I'm the chair of the State Housing Board meeting. Thank you all for attending today. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And first up, we have an introduction. Andrew Paredes, all you.
Thanks, Anthea, and thanks, members of the State Housing Board. Appreciate your time and your energy and your efforts as always. Today we have, I think, 6 projects to review, as well as some formal meeting minutes from last meeting's rulemaking to ratify. And I know that we have a tight schedule, so I won't belabor it too much more. And certainly happy to take any questions from you all, but if not, I think we're ready to proceed to the projects.
Andrew, do you have an update for us from a couple meetings ago? There were a few items that we had. Can we take a few minutes here to give us an update on those projects?
Yes, happy to. I will look for Andrew Ashley as well to chime in as needed. But I think there were 3 main questions from that meeting. First being that I can remember, there was a deal in Mancos. I think it was called Mancos Commons, and there was a concern there in terms of their ability to manage the project, as well as perhaps in the future manage the property as it relates to kind of affordable housing requirements. So we did add a requirement to their award letter to that effect, that they be sure to secure third-party or outside project and property management, to DOH's satisfaction.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Andrew.
And the second was a question around I believe it was the Harmony Cottages. It was a home ownership project in northern Colorado. And I believe Ryan Moses asked the question about staff taking a look at the funding recommendation and whether we felt it was, we were able to or could recommend more funding for that project. And we did certainly take a look at that, both in the initial process and subsequent to our State Housing Board meeting. And we are confident in our recommendation that the amount recommended was sufficient to get that project over the finish line. We certainly understand that every application we take a look at could use additional funds, and would make it easier not only for that project to to be completed, but for the organization to continue its mission. So certainly nothing wrong with that idea. In the era of TAG, we're doing our best to balance a limited resource and statewide, as well as to ensure that the most number of units either created or preserved are able to happen within the time frame. So while we recognize in that particular case that if we were able to increase our funding, it would allow that organization to have more operational funds in its coffers to do the next thing and the next thing that it wants to do. Again, that's awesome, and we would love to be able to provide that for everybody. Our interest is in balancing asks and requests statewide so that we can get the most immediate kind of bang in return for our TAG investments as possible. And so we felt like that was the proper investment for that Harmony Cottages project in order to get those units developed while saving enough resource for other applicants to be able to get funded through TAG and create those other units statewide.
And I would just jump in to mention that typically, in normal day-to-day Division of Housing operations, we have one statewide contract with Habitat for Humanity. And it was in this transformational affordable housing grant program that we decided to allow local affiliates with shovel-ready projects to apply themselves. And we went back and looked at all of the Habitat projects that we funded through the transformational grant program. And that was the only one that included a developer fee. So we felt like we needed to treat all of those applications the same way. So just a little bit more context.
That
Thanks,
all makes
Andrew.
sense and is helpful. I don't think Ryan is on, but I will see if I can convey that message to him this week. Was there one more, Andrew? I don't remember the last one.
The last one was a request for a report out on the TAG status to date, and I was able to send that out to members. It's also posted on our website, but I sent that out to you all, I think, before the last meeting.
Excellent.
Great
Thank
shout
you.
out to Ashley Hertzler in our underwriting group, who was able to really graphically demonstrate that for you guys, along with a map as to where we've awarded so far in the state. So thanks to Ashley, and we will update that hopefully after this meeting, where we go over another couple of TAG applications.
Great. Thanks again. Next up on the agenda is the approval of the State Housing Board public hearing minutes. So any questions, comments from the board members before we ask for a vote? Motion of an approval here. Can I get an approval?
I make the motion for the approval of the meeting minutes.
Thank you, James. There's a second?
I second that.
Was that Nancy?
This is Monique.
Monique? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Monique. All those in favor signified by aye or a hand raise.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you all. Okay, we're going to start with the project application review stage. We have this broken up into two sections, the project application and then the TAG application. We'll start with the project application. First up is Crossing Point South, SFR, and presenting today is Wayne McClary. Are you on mute, Wayne?
Rookie mistake. I've been so many meetings today. I've had myself on self mute. So Crossing Point South is presenting today. It's Steve Kunchar, and Steve will give some brief remarks on this supplemental funding request for in Adams County.
Thanks, Wayne. Good afternoon, everyone. Steve Kunchar, Head of Housing Development for Maker Housing Partners. We're requesting additional funding for our 142-unit multifamily project known as Crossing Point South, which is located in Thornton. at approximately 104th in Colorado, across the street from the rail station. And the project is currently under construction. We're actually about 90% complete. As many projects have, ours has run into some cost issues. When we started, things appeared to be good. And as time has gone on, interest rates have been a big challenge with our variable rate construction loan. And then secondly, we've run into some cost challenges on the construction side as well. So we're requesting some additional funding above the 1.1 million originally awarded.
Thank you, Steve. Nancy?
Thank you. I wasn't sure if that was going to work or not, but it did. Thank you for that. This is not really for the developer, but in reading the materials, they mentioned that their interest rate went from 1.85% in June of 21, so about 2 years ago, and it's now 6.35. And who knows where it's going to go next. I'm wondering if staff could tell me if that is a pretty common issue across the board, and if we may see more of this kind of thing ongoing. It's really hard to make plans when you've got an interest rate that goes up that much. The savings rates aren't going up, but at any rate, go ahead. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for bringing that up, Nancy. We have this has been a common theme throughout both the affordable housing construction world and construction lending in general. The short-term interest rates, construction loans are based on floating interest rates based on the prime rate, for example. And those have, as the Fed has increased rates, those have continued to go up. Most of the popular media seems to be indicating that the Fed is nearing the end of its short-term rate increases. So we are optimistic that, while unfortunately we will remain at these high levels, we won't see projects impacted over the last 2 years with every 6-week rate increases. So hopefully this pressure on supplemental funding requests will begin to wane. We haven't seen that yet, but we anticipate that this won't be a consistent driver of additional fund requests or cost to projects, as projects can now plan for this, or projects starting now already have built in this interest rate cost, unlike projects from year and a half, 2 years ago that were building in the rates quoted at that time.
Well, it's just more uncertainty. Thank you.
Steve, and this actually might be a question for staff, maybe not for you, but on page 4 of the memo, it says 4% LIHTC equity, that it's decreased by 444,000. And on page 1, it says that there was a increase in construction costs of 444,000. Is that just ironic that it's the same exact number? Did your equity pricing actually go down?
No, and let me just pull up exactly what we're referring to. So our pricing has not changed. We actually, Wells Fargo is the investor at 93 cents. And we are seeing, we do have increased costs, but we also have delays in our construction that are hurting our timing. So we're having an adjuster for timing as well. And I apologize, but I can't find that page. I want to make sure, because the other challenge we had is that when we completed our application back in 2021, we actually closed with a little bit less equity than we had anticipated. So we're comparing kind of old numbers Here we go. Yeah, so we closed at 20.55 million in equity in November of 21. And so actually we're seeing a little bit, we've got in here going up to 20.6, which would be about a $50,000 increase in equity when you add the construction costs and deduct for the delays. But we didn't close at the 21 number. That was from our application pre-closing in 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that helps. And
Oh,
kudos
yeah, I
to
can
Wells for
also-
holding that 93-cent pricing.
Anthony, I can also offer some clarifying points on that as well. Is if you're looking at the exhibit itself, this one was pretty difficult to write because it had a lot of moving parts. As you described it in the write-up, Maker Housing Partners did a lot of value engineering. And when they did the value engineering, that essentially they were able to effectuate some a lot of cost savings. And so what that essentially led to was a little bit of a decrease in that eligible basis. And so as a result, that's where we're also seeing a combination of some of that equity, less equity that you're showing. And then also, as Steve mentioned, he was looking at the closing date, and then our baseline was not the actual closing date. So him as a developer from a real-time aspect, he's more focused on that closing date as far as what the equity was, whereas we're showing it from a state housing board basis. So our baseline is actually June of 2021 when we went to state housing board originally. So that kind of leads to the discrepancy there. But I don't want to make light of the fact that Maker put in an awful lot of dealing with all the issues that they've dealt with, and they did use rate lock to have some control of that interest rates. That essentially they value engineered and an overall eligible basis for tax credits went down, which shows that decrease.
Great. I appreciate that comment and a really great unit mix here. Any other questions from the board? Thanks for presenting, Steve.
Yeah, thank you all.
Next project is Launchpad PSH EDG, and presenting the team today is Fallon Miller.
Thank you for that, Anthea. Today presenting on behalf of the project is Nick Ebenheiser and Shauna Kip. I'm gonna butcher it, Shauna. I am just calling you Shauna. And unfortunately, Lisa is not with us today, so they will take it over for Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Fallon. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Ebenheiser. I'm Development Manager for Cohen Esri, our Western footprint. You may know us are some other projects of ours under construction, including Panorama Heights in Colorado Springs, as well as Trails at Lehow in Inglewood. This is our third project in Colorado. We're partnering with Shauna Kempinen of The Place. Fantastic partnership. We really call this our charm project because it's our favorite project. We won the opportunity to partner with The Place through an RFQ a long time ago, and then we successfully won a 9% award subsequent to that. And this project is so this was a 22 9% award. We have 50 units, 47 of which are 1 bedroom, 3 of which are 2 bedroom. The project, and Shauna will speak more to the population and service component, but it is a permanent supportive housing project intended to serve transition age youth, of which, you know, the Place is the go-to nonprofit in the Colorado Springs area for that service niche. In terms of costs, we have a roughly $20 million project overall. Roughly $12 million of that is construction cost, overall hard cost. We just executed our guaranteed maximum price GC contract. That was executed on Friday, I believe. Then additionally, we've been holding 91-cent pricing from Merchants Bank of Indiana on the credits, which is slightly above market, we believe, for 9% awards. Those typically don't yield quite the high credit pricing as a 4%. And then as far as sources go, as we've encountered construction cost escalations, we've added several sources that weren't originally contemplated in our project budget at the time of CHAFA submission. So we've added, so we have CHAFA's providing our perm loan. They've locked that at 6.25%, which is an excellent perm rate based on the market right now. IDF, Impact Development Fund, is providing a capital magnet fund loan, about $320,000, 2% interest rate, first 10 years of P&I deferred. So those are excellent terms that we added as we encountered construction cost escalations. We've also held in our back pocket the El Paso County Housing Trust Fund. As we encountered cost escalations, we've gone forward with that source as well for about $410,000 at 2% over a 20-year term with 40-year AM, which are also excellent terms. The city of Colorado Springs is contributing $500K of home funds. In my experience with the city of Colorado Springs, they max out at $500K, and they just sort of spread that $500K award to all their projects generally in their pipeline. And then we've also maxed out city fee rebate. 80% of our city fees will be rebated, which will be around $300,000. Then lastly, we have the $3.75 million grant to the place from that we're requesting from DOH, and a $1 million cash flow note that we're also requesting additional to that. Cash flow for this project is somewhat committed to recycle back into the project to serve the to fund the permanent supportive housing services. So for a little bit more on that component of this project, I'm going to turn it over to Shauna from the place.
Great. Thank you very much, Nick. And hello, everyone. We're most excited about this project at the Launchpad because we know this investment will mean literal decades of people who will not become adults experiencing homelessness. So the key part of what we do at the place, if you're not familiar with us as the Runaway and Homeless Youth Organization in El Paso County, we work the whole spectrum of services from street outreach to a daytime drop-in center, a shelter, and housing. And we've been providing housing for nearly 2 decades, quite a bit of services and housing through the Division of Housing with the state of Colorado. So we appreciate that. Through all of those services, we really look at 3 things, and that is exactly what the Launchpad is about. So we know that young people experiencing homelessness who also have disabilities have already been in chronic homelessness, who's the population that the Launchpad will serve. What they really need is people, place, and purpose. And it's as simple as that. And the people is the folks around them. They do need their peers and their peer networks, because that's how youth stay out of homelessness, either family or their peers, once they get help. And of course, the people are the folks at the place doing this work. We have very experienced case managers built into this project. In addition, some great partnerships with our qualified health center here, Peak Vista Community Health Services, to have mental health services here, all the way from that to education and employment services. We're working with our career youth organization, Inside Out Youth Services. We'll pull in NAMI. The young people who are going to be living at the Launchpad will have just about anything that they need, if not they're inside through our people, through a connection that we'll have for them for that. So that's the people places really. The people are really the most important. I always say you can have a roof and it doesn't mean much if you're isolated. And you know that probably from a lot of what you've seen and read. So the place, outside of us as an organization, having the place for a young person in this right context with the sort of design that has been accomplished here through Cohen Esri Development Group and through Shopworks, our architect, it's a very trauma-informed perspective all the way around from the units to what's happening on the main ground level. And we know we'll have very good contact continually with young people. They're going to have access so that should they choose, they stay in their apartment. That's great. we'll be continue knocking on their door and offering services. They also can come downstairs and make food or use the TV lounge or just any number of offerings we'll have there for them for working in groups. And what we know also is that young people, I'd say it's everybody, we all as humans, they want to connect with what their purpose is. And it's really hard to do that when you're living on the street. So one of the main goals of the Launchpad is so a young person comes in and then they're able to tap into, once they've de-escalated from street life, what is really next for them. And that could mean a plethora of things, all driven by them. It's very youth centered. So someone might want to finish high school or go on to some training program, and someone might just want to be able to maybe sign up and keep a mental health appointment. It's going to be very, very focused and driven by the young people with our staff of people who have worked with youth for a very long time. It's different than working with adults who are living in homelessness. And we're already very successful at it, utilizing a scattered site model. So having the Launchpad itself is something that's the most exciting for all of us to be able to see youth get into the right sort of space where we're supporting them right there immediately.
Thank you, Shauna. Do you have any questions from the board? James?
Hi, Shauna, James Martinez. You were talking, you know, this is a youth, this is for homeless youth. And one of the things that I'm looking at is, for a developer is, are you reaching out to potential tenants right now regarding and working with your general contractor, working on some workforce? It would be awesome to see, a few potential tenants be part of the construction process and learning a trade and taking that sense of pride, right, of where they're going to live. Do you have any type of programs, anything like that? Are you looking at anything like that?
We're connected in general with the workforce center here and with one of the high schools that has a construction model. It's been brought up in some of the conversations with Co and Esri. We haven't made a move toward that yet. We are involving youth. We've already talked with some youth about the design and some of the artwork that will happen inside. So we're very, very focused on having them be involved, and that's a great opportunity that you bring up.
Yeah. We've also signed an MOU with a group called Community Works, who will employ referrals similar in sort of a similar, generally, vulnerable, youth working on, through vocational programs for, professional development, and such like that. We're also working with Mile High Youth Connect on our Inglewood project, where they sort of have some vocational training programs where the youth they go through a safety training, and then they additionally, I think they're insured through the Mile High Youth Connect program. And so we're able to place them for, professional development experience hours at our construction site. So that's something that we're currently working on implementing on the Inglewood project that's currently underway.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Nick, you mentioned that the services, I believe you mentioned that the services would be paid from the cash flow. Is that right?
I vaguely think it's around 50%, but let me pull up that workbook right now.
So I'm curious if the expenses that I'm looking at for year one, so $372,000 of expenses, does that include services, or are they below the line, and will they be coming out of the $160,000 of cash flow?
Oh, we don't begin leveraging the built up cash flow reserve from the project until much later in the pro forma. I think it's years 6 or 7 when that begins.
So you're taking the cash flow and putting it aside in a reserve then for services?
That's right.
Okay. And how much are services?
I'm sorry, Anthea. Go ahead. I couldn't hear you.
What is the estimated amount of services per year? makes sense.
Sure. I can speak to that, but Fallon, were you trying to say something?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Anthea, I can definitely send the board the actual services budget. There's a services contribution budget that is not included in the board's packet. It does.
it tends
And
to
I'll-
average about 12.7% from year 2 to year 15, funded out of cash flow, but it goes up as high as 30.8% in year 7. I also saw a comment in the chat just now from Zach, also pointing out that the Office of Homeless Initiatives can share in the service budget as well. And just to be full disclosure, since that's also a CDOH entity, we've got OHI in here in this budget as well for
Okay.
So this
and-
tenant support services at $16,000 a year. I can speak generally to the supportive services budget, which starts at about $504,000 and then goes up annually. We received an ARPA grant here from El Paso County, so we're putting the most of that ARPA grant into the initial year of the supportive services. We also received a $300,000 grant from Colorado Health Foundation. We're using in the first couple of years, and our local community foundation has put in some funding along with a family fund. And the place has also committed its fundraising, a smaller portion of our fundraising resources toward the project, with being very thoughtful to not over depend on that, of course, because we have to support all of our programs.
Okay, great. That's helpful. And Fallon, I do see the services budget. I just cannot read it. It's way too small. So my bad for not being able to read that. The other question I had was the DOH subsidy per unit. Am I reading this right, that it's $95,000 per unit made up of EDG, which I'm curious what that stands for, as well as $20,000 in gap funding?
Yep.
Yep.
I will speak up, Anthea. I think this is one of the last projects that received our EDG, which was expanded or enhanced DOH gap funds, a program we rolled out inspired by the first round of kind of state stimulus earmarked for affordable housing. House Bill 1329 and House Bill 242 inspired this, but we certainly used all funding sources to fund it. So we, at that point, offered to applicants who received 9% awards last year the ability to expand our then normal guidelines by $30,000. And then this one asked for $20,000 over and above our EDG. And that was kind of, underwritten by Fallon and staff to be sure that we were landing on the right number.
Great, thanks. And did the Division of Housing also provide the permanent supportive housing vouchers that were awarded to Place? Is that what this is used for this project? Okay.
That's right.
Piecing it all together here. Thank you. Well, phenomenal project.
Thank you. And it is a lot, I realize, a lot of support from the state, and we appreciate that. Our city and county have not yet fully understood the robust investment return that they get while they're involved. I do see that changing. I think it's great news. And I do think that investing now in this age range of young people has such a return throughout their whole life and for the community.
Great, thank you. So we're going to move on to Elevate at Aurora. If I could ask that everyone keep presentations to 5 minutes. We're a bit behind schedule. I'm going to try my best to keep us on schedule and to give everyone their fair share of time as well. Presenting for Elevate is Demetra English.
And I'd like to introduce Ivan Anaya and Jacob Von Trapp. Ivan?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. We're somewhat in a loud place, so apologies if there's background noise, but we're pleased to present Elevate at Aurora, which is a 137 unit family development, 4% in state. It was awarded in November of 2022. The project also includes a community service facility that is 15,000 square feet. The community service facility will be programmed by the current landowner, Living Hope Community Church, and Cross Purpose, which is a nonprofit that does career leadership and personal development programming. The average participant in Cross Purpose is generally earning below $300 a month, so in below 30% AMI. After participating in an 8-month program, career development program, the average wage earned by graduates is over $3,100 a month. And so this is an organization that is truly investing in in Colorado's talent. It's developing Colorado's talent, and we're so pleased that they will be our partner on site. The project is a mile away from Anschutz Medical Campus, and 60% of the graduates actually go into the medical field in some way, whether it be back office coding and billing or a CNA program. So being within a mile of their potential workplace and across the street from the elementary school, this family development really benefits from the opportunity for our residents as well as participants of Cross Purpose to spend more time being there and less time getting there. I will stop there, given that I think you're probably wanting to keep it short and get to question and answer.
Thank you, Yvonne. Appreciate it. Any questions from the board? I've got a question on your debt. It looks like you have an LOI from KeyBank. The
Yes,
interest rate is not fixed. Is it floating for the perm period, or is that just during the construction period that it floats?
It's during the construction period.
But fixed for firm.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Up next is the SFR NeighborWorks of Southern Colorado DPA, and presenting the team today is Christine Peterson.
Good afternoon. Today we have Sarah Habit and Tamara Plesic from NeighborWorks Southern Colorado with a supplemental funding request for their down payment assistance program.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tamara Plesic. Let me turn on my camera here for you. There you go. I am the real estate manager with NeighborWorks Southern Colorado. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that specializes in home ownership. I'd like to start off by saying that we do appreciate you taking the time to hear from us today on our request of the $700,000. As of right now, we have a current contract where we had $610,000 to use as DPA funds. It was like $699,000 total with project and everything like that cost in there. As of right now, we have used a little over $566,000, or about 90% of the funding from that loan pool. We have one more scheduled to close this Friday on the 26th, which will leave just enough funds for about one more loan. After that, we would be exhausted out of these, the DOLA funds here. So the interest rate that we have currently on those funds is a 2% interest rate on all loans. And every loan that we have closed so far has been amortized over 30 years. The $700,000 that we are asking for now will allow us to keep our current pace until the end of the year. And that pace right now being about 4 loans a month at an average of about $25,000, again, per month throughout, or per loan, ending up throughout the rest of the year. Right now, we have been fortunate enough to also have partnered with another organization and receive private funding in the amount of $1 million. That is also funding up to 10% of the purchase price as DPA for these borrowers. And the borrowers that we are targeting are those at 80% AMI as defined by HUD. which pairing together this loan fund along with our private funding, we're able to provide up to 20% DPA on home purchases to borrowers at 80% AMI or less. So as a matter of fact, we just got notification yesterday that our private funder is also contributing an additional $2 million to us to continue this program, as those funds are also going down pretty quickly. So we've been very successful in this year in expending these funds. And I know you guys are going to have questions, so I'll just open it up there.
Thank you, Tamara. Any questions from the board? James?
Hi, Tamara. What are the payment terms that are used for the down payment?
So for payments, they are paid monthly, and so with it being a 2% interest rate, they are paying to us 2% that payment monthly. When we pair it together with a separate loan, it's amortized over the 30-year period, so over the life of the loan.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Next up are the TAG project development applications. We have 2 projects. The first is the Denver Housing Authority Flow Senior, and presenting is Demetra English.
Hi, and I'd like to introduce Aaron Clark and Joe Iannuzzi.
Thanks, Dee. My name is Joe Iannuzzi. I'm a senior development manager here at Denver Housing, and today we're presenting Flow Senior Apartments. Flow is a proposed 212-unit building serving elderly residents as well as non-elderly disabled residents. It is the 4th phase of DHA's led development in Sun Valley. So this new development will be located on the southeast corner at 9th Avenue and Elcott Street. For those of you that are not familiar, the Sun Valley redevelopment is DHA replacing 333 old public housing units that need significant repairs, with 971 total units, including 763 income restricted and 439 for very low income, while preserving the character of the neighborhood. Sun Valley is the most diverse neighborhood in Denver. 30 languages are spoken. And so the design of all of Sun Valley was keeping in mind the diversity and the special character of this neighborhood. Sun Valley also includes a Decatur Fresh Marketplace and a food desert, as well as a food and business incubator. This Phase 4 Flow is not part of the HUD Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, but it is included in our D3 agreement with the City of Denver. All 212 units will be affordable below 60% AMI, with 50% of the units considered very low income. 106 units will be project-based vouchers. 22 will meet uniform federal accessibility standards, and 9 units will be for persons with vision and hearing difficulties. And with the projections from Colorado State Demography Office that the number of individuals 60 and older will double in the next 30 years, and how most of these folks are on fixed incomes, this is a population that is particularly vulnerable to rising housing costs and to the risk of being denied safe, affordable housing. We've already put in over 10 million of DHA's own funds. It's a 4% LIHTC deal with both tax exempt and taxable bonds. And so the $6 million TAG grant is needed in order for us to close next month and to provide much needed housing for a very vulnerable population, and to complete this huge undertaking that's really going to benefit a whole new neighborhood. or existing neighborhood, I should say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you done?
I'm done. Yes, trying to
Okay.
keep it short.
Thank you. Nancy?
Thank you. I'm curious. I just quickly looked at my phone to check to make sure I had the right neighborhood. So when you build something like this, which I think is a great project, what are you replacing? What was there before even now? So what are you, scraping houses or empty fields, or what was there?
If I can maybe speak to that in terms of the overall, that really want to underscore that this is the 7th building that DHA is building in this neighborhood. We first got the Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant for an overall neighborhood scale redevelopment in 2016. So it was 333 row home style, 2-story red rooftop public housing units that had been there for a very long time on curvilinear streets, really very insular. So we have already relocated all of those residents in multiple phases. The last of those buildings came down at the end of last year, but our first phase of development of new buildings actually was fully leased up as of March of 2022. So, and then we've just now opened our second phase. So we already have about 50% of all of the new buildings that we're building open. And all those 333 original households, we've been replacing those units one for one in all of these new developments. And so all of that work has already happened. We have former residents already moving back. And we have 2 other buildings under construction now, Soul and Flow, that are also mixed income buildings in this location. Flow will be the only one that is specific for seniors and disabled residents, the only one of our 7 that is 100% affordable, rather than a mix of mostly affordable with some unrestricted income housing mixed in. But that is what all of this has been replacing.
Looks like I'm going to have to drive out that way. I haven't been over there for probably, there was a training center or something over there, right?
You will not recognize it at all. And yeah, so we have 4 beautiful buildings up and then a bunch of dirt piles and cranes for the other development already happening. But that's why we've gone through this a number of times. We know where this stands, and this is the last of those buildings. Also, just want to note that the image on your screen is our older rendering. We just got an updated rendering because this is a 12-story high-rise building that is Flow. So what you see on your screen here is a little less than that.
Yeah, and I can actually show you, if I'm allowed to present. This is the new rendering.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's right. So yeah, it's beautiful. This is all like kind of a walkable kind of promenade, beautiful common space. And right here in the back along Elcott and the Platte River is going to be a new park. A lot of it is design of building is geared toward healthy living and having access to the outdoors and walkable areas. And just to give you a bit of context here, the new Flow building will be right here. This is Alcott and this is 9th.
Actually, Joe, we're not seeing your cursor.
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
But if you could see on the left box, there's a little on the right, bottom right, there's a little box there that shows where Flow will be located in proximity to the other buildings of Sun Valley. So you can see the park along the Platte River that will be beginning construction on. You can see where Gateway North and South are. Those are 2 of our buildings that are fully leased up. You can see where Greenhouse and Thrive are, and those are in the process of being leased up. Construction just completed this year. So Flow will be the 7th building, the final 7th building of this development.
Thank you very much.
Joe, did I hear you say that these units are reserved for residents that are disabled?
Elderly and disabled, but 22 will meet uniform federal accessibility standards. So folks that that require the use of a wheelchair, that have physical disabilities, but and then 9 additional units will be for persons with both with either vision and/or hearing impairments.
So I Googled how many of Denver residents are disabled, and it's about 10%. If you don't know the answer to this, it's fine, but I'm just curious, do you happen to know offhand, either you or Aaron, what percentage of your entire portfolio is reserved for disabled residents?
I can speak to that. I don't have that precise number, but this is primarily a senior housing development, right? But we do know that, especially when we're looking at our very low income levels and having this number of project-based vouchers, that's what we are coming off of our waiting list for those units. And our wait list has far more households that are in need of accessible units than the overall numbers that you'd have across our city. So because I think there's certainly a lot of a lot of connection between those who are disabled and those who are needing lower income housing, being disabled and then having that limit your work opportunities, that type of thing. So, but again, it is primarily senior housing, but that under our tenant selection policy is for this building is also open to those who aren't elderly, but also are disabled. And this is the same profile as we have for our Vita at Sloan Lake development that we completed a few years ago.
Do you have any projects that are entirely reserved for disabled? I'm surprised that that you're limiting just 10% of the units to disabled. Is it really expensive to have those accessible units? Is that part of the reason why you do it? Or do you have other projects that are geared towards disabled individuals?
We don't have any that where that is the entire focus. With that being said, there's always ways to adapt various units. And when we speak to those percentages, that's of the design of those units. That's not to say that if we have other opportunity to house other people, we could. Not everyone needs those precise modifications in a unit.
Sure.
To still have a priority to be in this building that has other services provided and just kind of the overall design of the building. And so I think that I'm sure that we have a number of disabled residents who aren't necessarily in specifically accessibly designed units, but that are still being served within our development.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I just got to thinking, I don't think I've seen an entire building dedicated to disabled.
Yeah, that's correct.
Question.
Wayne?
Sorry, Anthony, I can't chime in. We have funded, DOH has funded Atlantis 1 and Atlantis 2, and those are two projects that are primarily just about 100% disabled.
In Baker, that's right. Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, those might be the only ones. Thanks. And those were small, weren't they?
Yeah, they're medium sized, about 60, 70 units, but
Sure.
I'm just going to bat for Aaron here. So
Great. No, Aaron's doing an awesome job. I'm just curious.
And one thing I did not mention, 106 are for project-based vouchers as well.
Great.
So
Thanks.
this is really catering to very, very low income.
Mhm.
Yep.
Seniors as well. Fantastic. Well, thank you for the presentation. Up next is 33257 Wellspring Housing, and presenting is Wayne McClary.
yeah, this is also from our transformational housing, affordable housing grant, and this project is being presented by DCHP. This is Wellspring Housing, and you will be renamed as Unity on Park Street. So now here's Art Lael for some very brief remarks. He's time sensitive.
Thanks, Wayne, and thank you to all the members of the board for considering this project. We really appreciate it. Without your support, this project would not get out the ground. As you've read in your packets, We're taking a formerly La Quinta Inn and converting it from a 63-unit hotel into a 42-unit apartment complex, with the expressed intent of serving half the folks as reserves for those persons with disabilities. And this project sits right in front of a nonprofit organization we have a strong partnership with, Wellspring Community, who serves adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this will now provide an opportunity to create integrated housing for persons with developmental disabilities. And by reserving half the units for persons with disabilities in general, we were able to then make sure that our rent rates can meet those needs of those very low income individuals, both with developmental disabilities and with other disabilities. And it is integrated housing, so it's not reserved 100% for persons with developmental disabilities. It's in an integration of people with developmental disabilities and people who are, as they say, neurotypical. And it creates a very diverse program. And Wellspring Community, our partner in this development, will be providing an independent living program on site for those persons who do have developmental disabilities, so they can live independently with 2 on-site staff. 2 of the units will be staff units, and they will provide concierge services. They are like resident advisors for the residents of the community. And we are just absolutely excited to get this out of the ground. We've had a massive amount of local support. The county is investing almost as much as we're asking of the state. And they invested more than that politically in order to ensure that the project would happen. They actually acquired the La Quinta Inn with their own money and then transferred it to Wellspring, and are providing $3 million towards that acquisition, and only asking for $3.4 million back in order to fund another project just like this down the line that you'll be hearing about in the months to come. So we really appreciate, again, the support. And thank you, Wayne. Thank you to the entire DOH team. They worked tirelessly to help us craft this project in such a way that it met every mark of the tag and all federal regulations. And so we really do appreciate how much everyone's bent over backwards to make this thing a reality.
Thank you, Artie. Any questions from the board? You were right on topic here. It was almost like I teed it up like this. Fantastic development.
Thank you very much.
All right. No questions. Full support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now move on to the voting. We're going to go ahead.
Andrea?
Sorry, I'm trying to find my list of all the deals that we have here. Is there any way we can get that up on the screen? James?
Anthea, before we start the voting, I am going to carry Candace's proxy today,
Great.
if that's all right.
Great. Thanks
And
for that.
I need to recuse
does
my-
any board member need to recuse themselves from any of these deals?
I do, from the DHA Flow Senior Project.
Okay. So let's start with Flow Senior then. If I can request a vote for approval, please, for Flow Senior tag. Nancy, thank you. The second,
I second that. This is Monique.
thank you, Monique. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And James Martinez recuses. Since you're recusing yourself, I'm assuming Candace is also recused.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a quorum then?
I don't believe that makes a quorum. Does somebody else speak to that? But I don't believe that's a quorum then.
Could I vote the proxy for Candace and just still recuse myself?
Andrew, can I ask you that question? I'm not quite sure on that one.
I would suggest, well, since you have received Kansas's proxy in advance, James, I don't think that we are able to substitute or transmit it. But I will go back and I researched this a few months ago when we had the same situation, and I'll go back and relook at what I got from the Attorney General's office and let you all know. I think for now, let's just record the votes as they are. 3 votes in favor, no votes against, with 1 abstain.
And can I vote with Candace's proxy and get permission after?
I don't think that would be.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, I just want to caution against that.
All right. Sounds good. We will get flow approval.
Yep.
It might not be today. Next step for approval, we can have a vote of approval for Wellspring Tag, SFR Crossing Point, Launchpad PSH, Elevated Aurora, and SFR Neighbor Works of Southern Colorado. I can have a motion for approval.
I make the motion.
Thanks, James.
I'll second it.
Thank you,
Nancy.
Nancy. All those in favor?
Aye. And that
Any
includes Candace.
opposed? Okay, we have approval on that, including Candace's proxy. Wonderful. Well, thank you all. I hope everyone enjoys the holiday weekend, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.